These are things to put on the chalkboard here, Zander. You're going to know what your team is as you get more into October. I'm talking about things if they start carrying over. John, you know the number one thing that coaches go to, and that's trends. I'm seeing the same trends.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0 in an ugly, hard-fought battle. They win the football game 20-17 over the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Super Bowl rematch goes to your Philadelphia Eagles. They moved to 2-0 to start the year. There's a lot of things to talk about in the game today. We'll be joined shortly by John McMullen. I'm here right now with the great Dan Sileo, host of the National Football Show. Big Sills coming right to you out of the gate, my friend. The Birds are 2-0, but man, was it ugly. Your initial thought process, Sills, after the Eagles win 20-17 today in week 2.
Okay, so you have 8 quarters now of an inept offense, especially in the passing game. And I give it to Jalen Hurts and those players that are on that team. They did everything they could to win that game. They're resilient. No question about it. It was a hard-fought football game, but boy, I'll tell you what, that situational play calling by your offensive coordinator heading into, week 3 now when you have the Rams coming up on the other side, very uninspiring. Very, very uninspiring. The passing game, if you look at the numbers here going into this, I heard John at the halftime, off-time throws. There's no question about it, man. If you're encouraged by the defense in what they did in this ball game. And I get it. Patrick Mahomes didn't really have anybody. The play by Kelsey was probably the huge play in the ball game. Cool for Makuba to make a giant play, but 94 yards passing. And here, go on third down, too, on how poor they were on third down, 5 of 14. That offense was completely inept. Now, John says this all the time. That dude finds a way to win. He's a 60-minute football player. There is no doubt about it. But this is 8 quarters now. This is 8 quarters of watching the offense. They were just off-time plays. And how about this one, too? How about getting the fucking play in on time? You called stupid timeouts because you weren't getting the play in on time, and it was costing you timeouts in the first half of that football game. Andy Reid, hey, dude, you're not manned up normally with that roster that the Eagles have. You go for it on your side of the 50, and you go for it twice on fourth down, and you give up points. There's also your football game. Bro, you're not in the Eagles' room with talent. You needed to make it a fourth quarter game. They kind of did late, but they just didn't have the personnel on that side of the ball. And I'm going to say it one more time. You got A.J. Brown, you got DeVonta Smith, and you got Saquon Barkley, and you have Jalen Hurts. I'd say again, man, that's an inept offense right now. And we saw a little bit of this stuff before. There's just not situational play calling going on. But here, let's do the silver lining to this. They are 2-0. September's an ugly month for football. So you can't overreact. But still, what you start doing now, you start putting things on them on the calendar, and you start putting things on the chalkboard. It says things to keep an eye on. And they've got a ton, especially on offense. Once again, I'm very encouraged by the defense. They did a hell of a job. Smith showed up. Zadarius Smith. Makuba showed up. I was more encouraged by the defensive effort in this game today than I was, obviously, by the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but we'll get into everything you just said there, Big Sills. Joined now by John McMullen, host of Birds 365. We'll be live with Birds 365 at 8 a.m. in the morning. Johnny Mac, your first thoughts. Eagles win the game today, 20-17. They moved to 2-0 on the year. It was an ugly one, John, but you win nonetheless. Your first thoughts, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, this one's not going in the lube. They're not the Smithsonian isn't calling for the tape of this one. Ugly football game.
Woo!
And by the way, you know what my first take is? Fucking Tush Push is done.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
John, now they have the convenient excuse of it's too hard to officiate. You even heard it on the broadcast. Brady's even And Dean Blandino's like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about it anymore. You got people jumping off sides, trying to hit the football. They don't call any of it. You know, you had this Drew Tranquil's trying to get the ball at the bottom of the pile. This thing's done. So enjoy it. It is cooked. And it's cooked because of this game. That's my prediction, number one. To Dan's point, I heard him about the offense. Yeah, the offense was egregious. 216 total yards, 101 passing yards. Again, we talk about this too much. You know, I look, they win games.
Yeah.
All they do is win games.
Incredible.
You know, but you start to look like this feels like more like the 10-1 start in 2023.
John, I saw social media go there. I was not ready for you to go there.
Well, no, from the standpoint, I don't know. From the standpoint of these are bullshit performances and you're finding ways to win. And that's going to mask and everybody's going to say, well, they're winning. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to approach it like that, right? Because I don't think they will, but you can't just say, oh, they won, because that was a really limited Kansas City team, and they're fighting you tooth and nail. And I heard you also say about good for the defense, and yeah, they played well, but Dan, in the pregame show, I said, they're probably going to have a good defensive game. I don't know what that means because Kansas City was so limited. And at the end, I was kind of disappointed because all he had was throwing it deep to Thornton, and he was wide open and he completely missed him, and then went back to him and got the touchdown. I'm like, what's going on with that? Couple blown coverages
over the top,
but it didn't hurt them.
Blown coverages, John.
Yeah. But it didn't hurt them. A lot of positives as well. I brought up at halftime, I thought that, I Cooper DeJean, his ability to tackle in the open field, make things difficult. Nolan Smith on that fourth down stop, that was tremendous. I loved what I saw from Zadarius Smith in his first, opportunity, being on a limited pitch count. I think he's going to improve them. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the defense has got it figured out.
No.
Because, boy, they're limited. And if Kelsey catches that ball, the game's right there.
Different game.
The game, that's the play of the game. And Drew deserves credit for making a play, but I mean, that's a pass that Kelsey's usually going to reel in. And he didn't, and that you take advantage. But now we're talking about that 2 consecutive weeks. CeeDee Lamb dropping balls, Travis Kelce dropping balls. That's not a formula for sustained success.
No. I'll tell you this, John. Let's just do this. And you and I, we both say it. September's the month of liars. Boy, I'll tell you what, they are nowhere near in the room with Green Bay right now. It's 8 quarters only, but that team is nowhere in the room with that football team. When you're talking about beating a Detroit team that just put a 50 burger on the Chicago Bears, and folks would go, well, wait, the Bears? And I'm going to go, like John said, the Dallas Cowboys are limited. The Kansas City Chiefs are limited. The only thing that kept the Chiefs in that football game was Mahomes' ability, like I said he had to do. He had to ad-lib more off script, and he did. Because, to John's point, he's throwing to dudes that could barely make the Eagle practice squad. I mean, for them to be in that football game, man. Hey, John, seriously, Johnny Wilson could start on the Kansas City Chiefs right now. So, I mean, that was really ugly offensively. That's really was.
It really was. We got a lot of big takes there that we got to dissect. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. All right, on the JAKIB Postgame Show, the Philadelphia Eagles. I will remind you all, they are 2-0. Okay, they're 2-0. They get the win today at Arrowhead, a tough place to play.
Woo!
A team that has been to 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, or won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. So that's the good takeaway. Now let's dive into this offense. All right, we both of you guys just said a lot about how inept this offense looks. And I do think fans are feeling what you guys are feeling as well, and seeing what you guys are seeing with the offense.
Except on the tush push. Of course, they're jumping offside, but, who cares, right?
Well, I think, John, I think you're right. I think that tush push is done. So I think it's gone. They're already talking about it. You can tell it almost felt like a concerted effort. Everybody was tweeting it. They can't officiate it. They have no idea what to do.
They really don't, though. It's not a
lie.
No,
they don't. You're right.
They're going to use that as an excuse.
Yeah,
but they really can't officiate this thing. They really can't.
No, and plus, I think also Dickerson, you saw him, John. He was laboring out there again. He was limping around. You saw him dragging his wheel. I mean, that also might be playing a factor in this thing too. But how about this, man? Kansas City somehow, with that inept running game, I mean, did they outrush the Eagles in this ball game?
No,
I mean, they didn't outrush. It was 122, 121. But
that was Mahomes. I get
294 total yards to 216 for Philadelphia.
That's got to be one of the worst offensive.
Let's talk about this. I want to talk about the passing, about the offense, though, right now, because through 2 games, 8 quarters of football, look, I'm not ready to say Kevin Patullo stinks. I know a lot of people already are. They're already tweeting.
Well, I'm going to fight those people.
Next to Brian, John, whatever. But what is the problem here? Because I will say this as an Eagles fan. You have A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts in this offensive line. Again, I'm not ready to sound the alarm, but it feels like we should be moving the football a little bit better than we are with that many weapons. John, I'm going to come to you first. Where is the problem on this offense? Is it Kevin Patullo? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it the receivers? What is the issue right now with this offense and why they look so stagnant?
Well, I think it's all of the above, as always. I know people hate that, but they want to blame it on one person. They want to blame it on Kevin Patullo. They want to blame it. Oh, he's just like Nick Sirianni. They want to blame it on one thing. The quarterback's not releasing the ball on time. The offensive coordinator is being too conservative. The receivers too many times are not getting open. They don't have a plan for the blitz. And by the way, I'm going to take credit for that because I joked about it. The only thing they got was the go route on a 0 blitz. So Spags hasn't learned that from the standpoint of DeVonta Smith gets the go route. They don't even know, it seems, what a hot route is. And that goes through Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and now Kevin Patullo. So, certain things you want to point to, well, that's Jalen Hurts. Certain things you want to point to, that's the play call. Certain things you want to point to. I will say what I think is the biggest problem, because I'm over all that stuff, because I know what the Philadelphia Eagles offense is, and it looks dramatically similar no matter who the offensive coordinator is, because they're building it around the quarterback. I think where they are failing is they're too conservative on first and second downs because of Saquon's big season. And they're saying, well, let's just let Saquon set the tone. No, throw the ball when they're not expecting it, and maybe you get some things to open up. Right now, they're being way too conservative, in my estimation. And you had a couple nice runs from Saquon Barkley, but overall, this just looks disjointed.
It does.
We go through last season. You had a bunch of these games, 5 or 6 of these games with ugly passing yards. Now you have 2 in a row. It's not like it's new, but it's not improving.
No.
Sills, coming to you. Your thoughts on the offense.
14 targets, 80 yards between A.J. Brown and DeVonta. How do you think that's working? I mean, 18 targets in 2 weeks, right? 8 yards for A.J. the week before, and really a non-factor with Smitty too the week before. 14 targets, 80 yards, and to John's point, Saquon Barkley, 88 yards. You know what the difference was a year ago? You can live with 18 targets and 80 yards from A.J. Smith and DeVonta if the other guy's getting 152 yards rushing. 88 yards?
Well,
dude. You're not in the room.
If you take the one go route, which was 28 yards,
right, horrible,
DeVonta Smith, you're talking about 73 passing yards. You're talking about the long play for A.J. Brown is 8 yards. The long for Saquon Barkley in the passing game was 6 yards. The long for Grant Calcaterra was 6 yards. The long for Kylan Granson was 5. For Jahan Dotson was 4. And DeVonta before that, I believe it was 6. What the hell is going on?
And John, it was a jump ball. It was like a punt. I
How
mean,
much are we overreacting? It was 2 weeks ago, guys. Like, are we overreacting? I mean,
no. Listen, no. This is what I said. 2 weeks. These are things to put on the chalkboard here, Zander. You're going to know what your team is as you get more into October. I'm talking about things if they start carrying over. John, you know the number one thing that coaches go to, and that's trends. I'm seeing the same trends. Okay? I mean, you're not getting your stars open. You're just not. And I don't think it's 23, but I can tell you this. That offense is not 2024's offense right now.
No, it's not.
Now, yet to be determined.
I mean, Saquon Barkley, he still looks good.
By the way, the 2023 offense was better than the 2024 offense. They just had a crappy defense.
And
I don't think this is
over. I mean, if
that's true. They turned the ball over a lot.
Well, they turned the ball over, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, but he was 8th. I mean, that was the 8th ranked offense in the NFL, even with the turnovers they were in. Yeah. I'm going to point to you, and John has been saying, I don't know if this is the 23 team, which I don't believe. But
I don't either. It's too early to say that for me.
It is. But it's
now,
not,
what I didn't say it's the 20. What
I knew what you led you on in terms
of
ugly wins.
Yeah.
The assumption of people defaulting to, they won to ignore the problems, which is what they did when they were 10-1, and all of a sudden it collapses. Look, I said, I don't believe that the Eagles will take that tact. I think they know very clearly that this was a shitty game offensively. So they'll be working to improve, and they will improve. But for those people, those are the people I'm talking to, making the excuses, they won, and saying it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah, it matters because they have to get a heck of a lot better than what they did today in Kansas City.
John, it's about the war. It's not about the battle. Okay. Yeah. What people don't get right here, what we're talking about the war, winning the war, which is winning the season and winning the Super Bowl. You know, and that you start looking at all the things they did a year ago, Zander, all the things that happened with the turnovers in the first 4 games, the inconsistency of play, they were able to get into that bye, and they were able to adjust to what John just said. Dude, you got to really have a couple come to Jesus conversations in there. And I mean, about how you're going to move the sticks going forward.
I agree with that. I mean, look, I think we can all agree it should look better. When you have this many weapons and the weapons are as talented as they are in this football team, the offense should be moving the ball better. But
it's
I will
2 weeks now.
I know, but I will say this, Sills, and not to call either of you out because I thought the same like you both last year as well. Most people did not think the Eagles would be able to get to the Super Bowl the way they played offense last year.
Agreed.
Right? We were told, we all thought up until they got there, they probably can't do this. The passing game has to improve. Well, are we looking at a similar problem here where we're trying to say it has to be better than what it is, but
you're assuming, though, Zander, that
Barkley had 123 rushing yards in the football game, and they did beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road in week 2.
But you're assuming that Barkley's going to have an 1,800-plus year. Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
He's not going to have that. I don't think so.
In the first 2 weeks, I don't know. He looks like you guys said. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. But I'll tell you what. Here's another week where the Spagnuolo shut down the wideouts. To some extent, they shut the run game down. Matt Eberflus did it last week. This week, it was Spagnuolo. Zander, you keep playing with money like this and house money like this, you're going to get caught. Eventually, right. Guess what? People like CD and Travis Kelce are going to catch those passes. They are
catch
going
it.
to catch those passes.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
John, I
They're
want
gonna
you to
catch it.
elaborate on something you said a little bit earlier in the show about the first and second down, because I'm noticing the same thing, and I think you pinpointed it very well with just the conservative approach on first and second down. John, elaborate on that and how you think that that's maybe a problem that's permeating through the whole offense.
Well, I think, it makes some sense because, Saquon was so dominant. But, it makes things difficult. If you don't have success and obviously when you're third and long in this league, that's what everybody shoots for. And then they bring, especially Spagnuolo brings all these unique pressures and all of a sudden you're off the field. I saw way too much of that. And part of it early was penalties and negative plays and getting behind the sticks as well. So, part of it is just a clean operation. But, the minute, and that's why we always talked about last year, and they won in such a unique fashion. So it's similar to the overriding thought of what we're talking about. Well, they're winning. Right. Well, they won last year. So the assumption, and they've been very clear, you can't just stand still. Nick has said that. You have to keep evolving. Why do you have to keep evolving? Because people are going to adjust. Eventually, it might be slow, but they might adjust. So to assume that you can play this way and just ride Saquon Barkley, it lowers your margin of error.
Right.
And I think people are fooled by, well, how can you say that? They won the Super Bowl. Look, if you play this way, that's why nobody wants to play this way. Like a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you copy what the Eagles do? They don't want to copy. How many times have I told you that, Zander? They don't want to copy what the Eagles do for a number of reasons.
They don't want to, and they can't.
Yeah.
They can't because they don't have the O-line or the running back or the quarterback for that matter.
They don't have the patience because it takes 5 years to build an offensive line, probably minimum. As one as good as the Eagles, where you have those consistent, bell cows. Then you talk about the quarterback. Then you talk about the running back. And you have everything around them. So, it's easy to say, yes, they turned on the light switch. So, because we were having these same discussions, if you want to go back to last season, it was the Baltimore game, which they won, ugly game in Baltimore, where Jalen threw for 118 yards. And then the next game, Carolina here, where he threw for 108 yards. And remember, Xavier Leggett dropped the pass that would have won the game for Carolina. Sound familiar? Now, didn't matter because they recovered. And the game after Carolina was the Pittsburgh game. Remember where Jalen came out and said, oh, that's what you wanted to see. And then he got the concussion. And then he was out for the rest of the regular season. I think people forget the playoffs because of how it ended. Washington, Kansas City, blowout. They threw for 131 yards against Green Bay. They threw for 128 against the Rams. The margin of error in those games, you're counting on Jordan Love turning it over 3 times.
And a great defense too, John. On the other side. You're counting on Jalen Carter getting home twice in a row against Matthew Stafford late in the game, where Tyler Higbee's wide open because somebody slipped, and your season is over. That's what you call a margin of error. That's why you don't want to throw for 101 yards, 118 yards. Because they're good enough that they should be beating people soundly. And I don't think it's good to just say, oh, well, they're winning games. Well,
that's all I'm trying to say.
Let me go here with this. I mean, first two games. Very unimpressive with. The first game, I was impressed by the way Hurts figured it out, the Rubik's Cube against the Cowboys. But, wow, I mean, not him per se. I'm talking about him in the offense. And secondly, we made both comments, John. I kind of backed up on it a little bit and said, well, I think the Chiefs will be a playoff team. I wasn't sold that they were even a playoff team this year with the amount of non-skilled people that they have on that team. I'm still going to hang in there that they're going to be a playoff team, but let's not kid ourselves here. We're not talking about elite football teams that are hanging around the Eagles here. These are not elite teams. These are not teams. Mahomes is the only reason that keeps you in the conversation that maybe they figured out like they did 2 years ago, and they ended up going on that run and beating the 49ers in the Super Bowl. But let's be candid here. These are teams. One team's in a regression in the Chiefs. The other team is just traded away Micah Parsons, and they kind of figured it out to hang in there. We are not talking about good football teams that they're just barely beating here. And to John's point, you've got A.J. Smith, DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown, and you've got Saquon Barkley. That thing needed to be a 34-17 ball game, not a game where it came down to, hey, Travis Kelce dropped the ball for a pick, or Andy Reid with those 2 4th downs going for it on his side of the 40. I'm not giving Jalen Hurts 50 yards to try to get scoring points. I'm not going to do that. Not to that football team that scared me.
Andy Reid showed his desperation by going
sure
for
did.
it.
Yeah, he did.
So
maybe he had to do that because he knew.
I think he did. I think he did because I think that's one of the best things you can do is be honest with yourselves, and that's what I'm trying to say. This is a game where if the Eagles brought their A game, they win 35-10.
Absolutely.
They blow this team off the field, but they played their D game, which in a lot of ways tells you how good they are because they're still able to win the game. But I can't sit here and tell people that, that was an impressive performance.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. There's no way. Sills, coming to you real quick. Is Jalen Hurts or is Kevin Patullo a bigger concern for you right now in the offense?
Both of them. They all go hand in hand. Okay?
Exactly.
It goes hand in hand. Hurts, again, in the passing game, some of those overthrows are on him. You can call a play, but if the guy is not getting it to you. By the way, also, I thought Kansas City put some pretty good pressure on him internally. Remember what we said, Zander? Because of Landon Dickerson and his injury, they gave up some internal pressure. How many times was Jalen Hurts hit in the face coming up the middle with internal pressure?
Yeah.
I thought he needed to get out a little more. And maybe I thought he needed to get out.
I think Steen was getting pushed back. Sills, that pocket was collapsing quicker to that. I think that's a good call by you.
He had his elbow on Steen's helmet at one point because Steen got pushed back into his lap by Chris Jones.
You see Chris Jones talking trash on Hurts at the end of the ball game too, going, you didn't even have 100 yards passing. And you're trying to talk to me.
I don't know if he said that.
Talking trash on Hurts going, we call yourself a quarter. From what I saw, he goes like this to Hurts. You call yourself a quarterback, you need to have 100 yards. I would have fired back and went, hey, I just put my ring on when I left Arrowhead. So I might have barked back at him on the ring.
Well, they both have rings, so the ring talk doesn't help. But
yeah, that's true.
He didn't even have 100 yards, John, passing.
All right, let's close up the offensive conversation because I do want to talk about the defense. I thought there was a lot there to talk about as well today, and Chiefs didn't have much on offense.
Dude, Darius Smith, boom!
Well, we're going to get there, but I got to close this up. I need each of you to give me a response. All right, you can do it pretty quickly. Scale of 1 to 10.
By the way, he's a good dude too. Like to say there, good dude.
Scale of 1 to 10. What's the concern level in offense? It's week 2. It's September. It looks like preseason still, and we're 2-0. John, what's the concern level 1 to 10 on the offense?
Well, for me, it's 5 because they're 2-0. If they're 0-2, then it's
10.
A 10. But
Sills, what's the concern level for you?
It's September. It's the Liars Month. I got to see more than 2 games. Trends are 3 games for coordinators and players. I've got to see how they play against. Remember,
by the way, next week is a big test.
It is because the Rams supposedly have fixed their run defense.
I don't know about that, but they're a good team.
That kid, John, that run stopper in there. They put
Puna Ford, yeah.
Oh yeah, Puna Ford.
That's right.
They need linebackers. They had that Christian Roseboom who was just.
Yeah. Then again, they took on the Titans, so I don't know where we're going there with that evaluation.
Well, they pulled away though.
They put up a 30-burger on them. Yeah. I would say this, Zander, for me, I mean, I would do what John just said. I'd probably put it at a 5. And I would go like this, okay? Hey, situational play calling, the quarterback. I don't think Jalen Hurts had a very good game.
All right, I'm going to give a grade.
Then again, I don't really think anybody on that offense had a really good game. But I hear your boy. I hear John say this all the time. That guy, it's 60 minutes. He only needs 1 minute to figure it out.
All right, I'm going to say this about the offense. It is true. I'm going to say this about the offense. I'm going to go a little higher than 5 right now. I'm going to say 6 or a 7 because of this, though. John, we talked about this extensively at length on Birds 365 last year, how the margin of error was this small. Now you're seeing the passing game, and I know it's only 2 weeks, but it is a continuation a little bit of last year. And if you assume that Saquon's not going to do what he did last year, then you're going to have to get more in other areas of the game. They haven't really shown that through the first 2 weeks of the year. They put it a lot on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. I think, again, I don't know how many rushings here, 9 carries for 16 yards today, rushing the ball. So we'll see. I mean, I think they got a long way to go on offense, and I think Kevin Petula is just but
I do want to, I forgot, I wrote this down, and I want to throw this in. And I know people are going to go, oh, who cares? But Sills mentioned him earlier, but in a different frame. They don't have Johnny Wilson. They don't have Ben Sumrin, and they didn't have Dallas Goedert. Now, Dallas is obviously a good player, and people say, well, who cares about the other guys? Their whole plan, their whole run game plan, the big package included Johnny Wilson as one of the best blocking wide receivers in football.
Right.
And Ben Sumrin, they were going to unleash the fullback, and they still might with Cam Latu at some point. And Dallas Goedert, obviously, is a big part. So when they play 12 or even 13 personnel, which they did a lot against Dallas, but they came out with way too much 12 without Dallas Goedert. Like, they can't block with Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson, who are not known for their blocking. They were using John Mechie at times, if you notice, as the third receiver, and Darius Cooper to try to get some kind of blocking presence.
Right.
And they ain't Johnny Wilson.
No.
So don't dismiss role players and what they added to this team.
Brian Pumper will love to hear that one. I want to welcome and thank everybody.
I'm gonna put something else out there for folks against the Rams.
All right, quickly, go ahead.
If you blitz Matthew Stafford, there's none of those crappy ass receivers you saw on the field today in Kansas City. You got DeVonta Adams.
No, Puka's coming and DeVonta's coming.
Let me tell you what.
The other
one of those two guys are not going to be dropping the football on blitzes. So if you think you're going to blitz Matthew Stafford the way they blitzed, I would have done the same thing because he did not respect the wide receiver talent. That's why Vic brought that. Yeah. Because there was not big playmaking guys on the perimeter. So
we're going to get to the defense. I want to get to the defense.
The perimeter here when it comes to the Rams.
Yeah, no, you're right. We're right. We're going to get to that in just a second. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. We got a big crowd.
Remind me to talk about Puka, by the way. Yeah, I know I'm throwing you off scale, but later remind, because Puka is one. I love talking about what he does.